Hello, my dear, and welcome to Unlock Your Genius in Business with the Success Codex. I'm Ankara Rose. I am so excited that you're here. This is work that is, it's truly near and dear to my heart because I'm the creator of the Success Codex. But more than that, all of this work sprung out of my own I would say, struggle bus in trying to really find and honor and follow who I really am in business. I spent many, many years, and maybe you can relate to this, but I spent so many years just dumping my money into mentors and coaches and programs that I, really believed would be kind of like that answer to creating sustainable success in my business. And I learned a lot. But at the end of the day, every time I tried to put myself into a box of what someone else did, um, it ended up either backfiring or not working at all, right? So, like, sometimes I would create the success, but I couldn't sustain it, or it just wouldn't work for me at all. And it takes a lot of courage to trust ourselves. But I say this all the time. It's like the courage is really stepping into ourselves. But once you cross that threshold, everything gets so much easier. And so that's my goal in all of the work that I do, is helping people find their own way instead of following my way. And that's what the Success Codex is all about. So I did slides for today. I really love being able to like look at you and talk to you. But we're doing slides for today. But before we do that, I think that it's really important that we come into a little bit of what I call heart coherence. I like to start everything that I do with a drop in into the heart, into the present moment. So welcome to everyone who's here. Welcome to everyone who is coming on the replay. Let's all get present together. So unless you're driving, I invite you to roll your shoulders back and float your eyes closed just for about a minute, and just begin to feel your breath. Maybe even place a hand on your heart and your belly or your womb space, and just beginning to feel yourself here in the present moment. So as you inhale, inviting you to inhale deeply into the heart space. And as you exhale, just letting your full weight of your body be supported by the seat underneath you. Maybe even leaning back and feeling that support behind you. Beautiful. Let's do another conscious breath into the heart space. And this time, as you exhale, just inviting all parts of yourself to be present with you in the moment. Right? Anything that maybe you've rejected in the past or judged, whether be it because it's remarkable or in some way you deem it less than. But let's bring those parts here into this moment. Good. And on your next exhale, just feeling yourself really unify even more deeply. Good. And we'll do one more breath into the heart, breathing in. And then as you exhale, just allowing a little root to spring forth from your heart. And just returning to your natural breath. Every exhale spirals that root down through the center of your body, down and out through your root, and finds its way to plant itself into the earth. Maybe with your imagination, this amazing tool we have of the sacred imagination, you can feel the coolness of the earth touching your roots as they expand deeper and wider and deeper and wider, like the roots of a beautiful tree. And just for a moment, let's just pause and feel that connection between the earth and your heart. So feel how in every inhale, you're breathing that energy up, and every exhale, that energy is just going, sinking back down into the earth. Beautiful. And on your next inhale, let's breathe that energy up. And this time we're going to send it, continue it up through the portal of the heart, spiraling open the crown and extending yourself out again like a tree, extending your branches, opening your leaves and reaching towards limitlessness, reaching towards the infinite, reaching towards the light. And we'll just pause here for a moment, and maybe using your imagination this time to feel spirit, the essence, the universal life force moving through your leaves of your tree. And feeling that universal heart connection here. And on your next inhale, just breathing that energy back down through your branches, down through the crown, all the way down into the heart. And as one final step, just taking a step back from yourself, just picturing yourself as this beautiful tree. and honoring yourself here, your human self, as the bridge between earth, matter, and the universe or spirit. So, from this space, we come together today to create a shared intention. And the intention is this: that as each of us steps more deeply into ourselves, this is not only for our greatest good, but this is how we impact the whole. This is how we serve all of humanity and all of Earth. So may today be an act and be of service, an act of service towards feeding and growing the greater good of all. So with that, I invite you to take one final breath into the heart. And as you exhale, maybe just kind of letting it out. I like to let it out with a shimmy and wake my body back up and stretch out the neck and stretch out, whatever needs to be. Thank you for doing that intention setting with me. It means so much when we can come together and do that together. So again, I'm welcoming all of you who are here live, all of you who are here on the replay. My intention for today, we'll go over my specific intention with this, but I really want this to be juicy for you and applicable and enlightening and exciting for you. So I decided to prepare slides. I might end up turning them off just to look at you, because I love to do that. I really love the interaction, but I think we're gonna dive right in. In the interest of time, just reminding you, I don't think I said this since we hit record, make sure that you have your workbook and a copy of your human design body graph, which you can get from any free software. So let me know if you need that and I can add that link. I just have to set myself up here. Give me one moment. So the chat will be open. Feel free to chat questions. I might hold some of them to the very end, but I will see them in, and I usually end up having to switch my screen all around so I can see everything on my screen. Okay, so welcome to Unlock Your Genius in Business with the Success Codex. I want to share a little bit about myself, just because I know some of your names, but I don't know all of you. And if you're watching a replay and we just met, it's really important that we have this connection point. And someone just asked for that fillable PDF link. So let me just grab that. I'm just going to stop my share really quickly. Here, hold on. Yeah, it is important that you have that with us, because we're going to be going through that together. Fillable. Okay, so I'm popping that in the chat. Just give me a thumbs up when you download it. Okay, perfect. All right, let's try that again, friends. Okay, here's me. This is a little bit about me. My name is Ankara Rose, and I am the creator of the Success Codex. I have a master's in education, right? So I have been teaching and leading in some way, shape, or form, probably my whole life, but really teaching workshops and teaching, literally teaching math for over 20 years. I'm really, really passionate about teaching. It's just, high quality teachers, people who really provide the results that we are hoping for when we sign up for whatever we sign up for. So that's a big part of who I am and what I do. I'm a sacred business strategist, which, I do business strategy, but in particular for people who really are soul led and who really typically have some sort of a spiritual leaning, whether that's personal or in the work that you do. I feel like we kind of have a slightly different set of needs when we dive into business. And so that's really who I work with. I'm also a course creation expert, and that has to do with my master's. It's like my little nerdy passion. I'm a Gene Keys guide and a human design reader for business. I've been diving into these systems for a few years. And really, for me personally, my obsession is taking complex and esoteric things and making them easy and accessible and applicable. That's where I really get, I think, the most satisfaction and joy. Some of my values are exploration, authenticity, integrity, and I really just love being alive. And, people always ask, you take these business programs and they're like, well, what's your mission? And my mission is just to help humans enjoy being human a little bit more. Like that's it. And I happen to do that with online entrepreneurs, but that's what I want for all of us, is to just enjoy being human, which to me, the key to that is to learn to truly be ourselves. And let's see. Okay, if you're curious, if you know about human design, gene keys, and these pieces, I am a 3/6 pure generator. I've got a lot of 3s and a lot of 6s. I fail my way to success. I make a lot of mistakes and I laugh the whole way because I know those mistakes are going to come. My son is in key code or gate 62. So my genius, my primary genius, which you'll discover yours soon, my primary genius is decoding. And my archetype is the translator. I have the right angle cross of Maya, and I have 2 channels in my body graph, 360, the channel of mutation. So like I make things happen, I start things, lots of change in my life. And then 1156, which is all about really telling stories to teach and to share. I'm a Cancer, Aries rising, Capricorn moon, stellium in Libra. So if you know about astrology, I am super cardinal. So which just means like we're going to get stuff done together. Okay, guys, that's just the way that we roll. So my personal intentions for you during this training, we're kind of going to do it in 2 parts. So the first part, I'm going to give you an overview of the Success Codex. And that way you have a foundational understanding of what it is. So I want you to have this foundational understanding, not just of how it works, but also how it can support you to create aligned success. And then the second part, we're going to dive into you, which that's the part that I have more fun doing anyway. And so when we hit this second part of unlocking your genius in business, I said this already, but I want you to leave feeling really inspired and excited and empowered to embody your primary genius, like immediately, to take this work and to run with it. So I added this slide last minute, and I know it's like a little cheesy. We've seen it in all of the slideshows, but I did think that this was important to say, right? So you're in the right place, right? You found this space here, and these are kind of the pieces that would let you know you're in the right place. One is you either have or you desire to have a soul-led business, which I define as you want to make money, you want to make a sustainable living, but by serving and creating a meaningful impact in the world. Okay, so we all want and need to make money, but it's important to you that it's meaningful the way that you do it. You're probably, I'm guessing, sick of the cookie cutter carbon copy version of business that we see everywhere. If you are online, we see the same thing everywhere. And as I mentioned earlier, I have tried it all. That's my 3/6, but I have spent tens of thousands of dollars buying into programs that either didn't work or they worked and they were unsustainable. And that's really common. About half of my clients are new to business, and the other half are business owners who really were pretty successful following other people's methods and then decided to burn it all down because it was just the cost was too high to keep it up. And then finally, if you love human design, gene keys, and or astrology, any combination of that, but maybe you don't love how complex they are, maybe it feels overwhelming, or maybe it doesn't feel tangible, and you really want to understand how to leverage those in your business, either for yourself, for your clients, or preferably both. Okay, so today, like I said, what you're going to need is your human design body graph. You'll need your Unlock Your Genius in Business workbook. If you're just pulling it up now, I will just drop that link one more time because I think someone else joined. And bring an open mind. Like, let's play, let's get curious. None of this is meant to be dogmatic. It's all just meant to expand your understanding of yourself. Okay, so let's dive into an overview of the Success Codex. If you have never seen the Success Codex, I wanted to just start with an image and show you this is what the Success Codex looks like. This is the most complex view. When we go into readings and when we explore it, we actually use breakdowns by color or by path. So you can kind of see there's this little path code at the bottom to make it more digestible. But this is an overview of the Codex. So let's talk about really what it is. Essentially, the Success Codex, it's a map of your genius in business that blends business astrology and a simpler, easier to understand, easier to apply translation of the human design gates and lines. So if you don't know what the gates and lines are, when you look at your human design body graph and you see all of those shapes in the center of the body, you'll notice that there are numbers, and those numbers are 1 to 64. Those are called the gates in human design. And you'll see lists of these little boxes to the side of that. Each one of those is a planet, and you'll see that there's a decimal point after each of those numbers. That decimal point is called the line. And I'll introduce you to the language of the Success Codex because we actually have different names for those things. But this system was created specifically for soul-led entrepreneurs and leaders because we have unique needs and challenges, right? Like today, business today is actually different than it was 10 years ago, right? Certainly different than the big bubble during, I would say, COVID, right? When everyone was charging exorbitant amounts of money and everyone was selling everything. And I think that that's part of where that cookie cutter, like everyone started to jump on the bandwagon of being the same. And the bubble has popped. Doesn't mean that people aren't making great money still, but this idea of, just follow my method, just do what I say and you're going to be successful. Like that's done. We've all kind of hit the wall with it. And plus we see so much of the same thing. It's not interesting anymore. And so people are having to use more and more, this will sound a little judgmental, but like more and more manipulation techniques and like really using language to really kind of get into our psyche. But a lot of it is by triggering our not self and, making us feel shitty in order to buy. And so we don't need to do that anymore, but we have to be, again, courageous to step into our own way, right? And that's what this is about. It's to help you and your clients really create aligned, sustainable success, but based on your genius, not mine, not hers, not Sally's, not Bob's, unless your name happens to be Sally or Bob, but yours, right? Your unique genius. And then the last piece of this is, sometimes I'm a seeker. And I love to learn. And sometimes I can go so deep into the things that I'm learning, but I don't apply them. I don't know if you raise your hand, if you're familiar, right? So but this system is really meant, the reason that I kept it so simple is that so you can take it and apply it. So that's really the point, because we can have a lot of mindset shifts from what we learn, but we're not really going to see the results, the tangible results, until we're applying it. So the Success Codex was born out of a need, and I discovered this need when I was doing a lot of Gene Keys readings and a lot of human design readings. And so I started to notice the same themes coming up with my clients. So I was always working with entrepreneurs in these systems. And again and again and again, people would come to me and they would say, well, I looked at my human design and I looked at my Gene Keys and I got so overwhelmed that I was like, I'm just never going to learn this. Or with Gene Keys, right? I bought the book. I looked at if you've ever seen the Gene Keys book, it's like this thick, and I threw it across the room and I said, I'm never going into this, right? And so for me, I love this work. I love human design. I love the Gene Keys. I believe that all of us could benefit from it. And so it hurt my heart to know how many people weren't able, they weren't motivated. They weren't able to really understand it. And so they were missing out on this amazing body of work that could help them. And I put this little line in, right? Like, I really believe that language opens and closes doors. And even, for me, I speak in esoteric language, so I love it, right? But it is a form, intentional or unintentional, it is a form of gatekeeping. When we keep things complex, it keeps people from accessing them. And so, that was part of my motivation of making it really simple. And I found in all of my readings, I was translating everything for people into simpler language. So that was just kind of happening naturally. Now, the other need was for an appropriate context. So Gene Keys and human design, truthfully, not that we can't use them, but they were not created to help people grow businesses. They're a personal development tool, a spiritual development tool. And I am guilty of this in the past, where I would kind of take these systems and smush them on top of business and try to help people figure it out. But what I found was there were pieces that were mismatched. Excuse me. There were pieces that it almost called forth the not self. There were rules that really didn't apply to business. And it was causing more confusion than needed to be there, right? So I wanted to create something, again, specifically for business. And then this piece also ties into it, something that's applicable in real time, right? Because this idea, we do not have to decondition for 7 years to be successful in business, right? And the proof is multi-millionaires all over the place who have done no work on themselves, right? Not a prerequisite. Or contemplating a gene key for 2 years, right? It's a beautiful thing, and it helps us as leaders, but it doesn't necessarily move the needle forward, right? As entrepreneurs, we need to be able to take something and apply it immediately. And that gives us immediate feedback so we can refine and we can make it our own. And again, it's the difference between collecting information versus moving that needle forward by applying and integrating it. So let's go through the parts of the Success Codex. We're going to kind of like do a little breakdown. So we've got the 13 gateways. I'll show you what all these are, but 13 gateways, 64 key codes, 6 approaches, and 4 success paths. Okay, so the 13 gateways, when you're looking at this, when either this view or the breakdown views of the Success Codex, and you see all of these circles are planets or planetary aspects, right? So similar to the gene keys, they're called spheres. Here, they're called gateways. So, we've got Jupiter. I don't know if you can see it here because it's kind of tiny, but all these colored boxes will tell you the planet's name and also the context that it's in, right? So for example, this is Jupiter and it's about expansion. Here's the moon and it's about flow. And I'll give you a little bit more insights into that in a minute, right? But so these are 13 different planets and planetary aspects. Some of them are not included in human design or gene keys, right? So we look at your rising, we look at your midheaven, we look at Black Moon Lilith. Those are not in any of them. And some of these planets are in your gene keys, and the rest of the planets are listed in your human design. But I like, this is an important combination because they're all critical to your business, right? So these give you the context of your work and your leadership that we're exploring your genius through, right? So you have a genius in all of these areas: attraction, purpose, leadership, initiative. That's what we're going to be looking at. And all of these are interpreted through, it's really a combination of business astrology and that modern entrepreneurial lens. And so the question that motivated me to kind of interpret these is, how does this planet or aspect serve soul-led entrepreneurs and leaders to create more success in their business and leadership? And what part of business and leadership does this influence, right? So that's kind of how I came up with the context for these planets. So if we zoom in, right, if we just take one gateway and we zoom into it, this is the good stuff. Okay, guys, this is where we're looking at your gates and we're starting to get into your genius. So within each gateway is its key code. There are 64 key codes. And again, this is the same as the gates or gene keys, right? It's the same numbers, different interpretation. So the way this works is your key code unlocks the gateway. Okay, so and it does that when you align to it. So we can kind of look at this, right? So so kind of the breakdown here, the number here, that's your key code number. The key code name is your primary genius, or the genius, right? So we'll look at your primary genius, but this is the genius of that key code. Underneath that, we have its archetype. We've got its alignment cue, how to know you're aligned, and out of alignment cue, how to know you are not aligned, right? And so the more this person, for example, the more this person steps into their embodiment and lets their embodiment lead, the more easily they tap into expansion, right? So see this embodiment and that expansion, right? And again, synthesized and translated from human design. And I really tried to keep the language simple and applicable to all of us. So now we're going to look at the approach, which is the line. AKA the decimals. Okay, so you can see it here. This is a 46.6. So there's lines 1 through 6, or approaches 1 through 6 for all of the 64 gateways. And so that approach is your line number, and the approach phrase is here to really help you understand how to apply and embody your genius. So each approach, so we've got these 13 different gateways in the Success Codex, but the words and the explanation and that approach phrase changes depending on which planet we're looking at. So I wanted to just give you an example. So approach 1, if you had a line 1 in your sun, you would be weaving in your knowledge. But if you had a line 1 in Mercury, which is about expression, your superpower would be teaching. Line 1 in Earth or capacity, you would be stretching your edge of self-trust. Line 1 in Moon, approach 1 in Moon, you would be regulating yourself through your creativity. So see how it's still one, the themes carry throughout all of them, but we're using them differently to really help us step into these different aspects of our business. Okay, and then finally we have the 4 paths. So I want you to know that you don't have to go in any order. This is not like you have to, like, you can really just look at this whole thing and just, dive into what I guess motivates you. But the idea of the path breakdowns is they're a little bit more of like a larger context or a larger area of business, and you move towards the one that you need in the moment. Right? Maybe you're really strong in one and you're weak in the other. Well, you don't have to go in order. You dive into what you need. And all of them include the sun, because the sun, which you will find out yours, but the sun is your primary genius. So let's do a breakdown of the different paths. So the impact path. So this is an example also of like the breakdown here. So the impact path is all about visibility, and it helps you to create an impact by showing up and being seen as your true self. And so inside this, we've got the sun, and we look at the sun through the context of visibility, right? Again, being seen as yourself, showing up authentically. We look at Mercury, which is the key code of expression, which is really how do you use your voice, your words, and even, right, it could also be other forms of expression, poetry, music, art, authentically and potently, that really connects with people and draws them in. We look at your rising, which is, I call it your impression. This is how people perceive you and receive you without you even trying. And so the idea here is that when you show up in alignment to your rising, and that's how people see you, right? And you're showing up that way, it creates more coherence and more trust. And it's something you can also leverage in your visual branding. And then we look at your midheaven, which is all about leadership and notoriety on a bigger scale. So in kind of in a bigger context, serving greater numbers of people. And you would explore this success path when you're really ready to stop hiding and you're really ready to be seen as a leader in your industry. So that's a really great place to start. The growth path is the next one that we're exploring. And this is all about, it's growing in the areas of money and clients and brand awareness and your capacity to hold more. It's really all about more, right? So here, again, we're still looking at the sun, but now we're looking at it through the context of your brand, bringing your values, bringing who you truly are into your business, your positioning. We look at Jupiter, which is all about expansion, overflow, bigness, more. We look at Venus, which is client attraction, right? What are people drawn to within you that you can then, right? We're not forcing this, we're leveraging it. We're stepping more deeply into it. None of this is, we're not faking our way through this. This is like, oh, this is actually who I am. I just get to bring this. Amazing. And then finally, we look at capacity with the planet Earth. And this is all about where can you stretch your edges to hold more. This one's a little bit of a blind spot for a lot of us, and I actually think it's a secret manifestation key, because if we're keeping all of our manifestations out in, out in the ethers, they never land. We got to bring them back into the body. Remember that first visualization we did where we're connecting the roots and the branches, right? We are connected to the earth and the universe. So we have to bring it down into earth. And so people love to explore this path really when you're ready to grow your business with more ease and less hustle. And if you're doing money work, abundance work, wealth work. So those first two, impact and growth, they're a little bit more like outward focused. And the next two, the balance and transformation path, they're a little bit more internal. Of course, they all have to do, all of this is about service. Every single one of them, serving ourselves and serving others, leading ourselves and leading others. But the balance path is about helping you to create sustainability internally while you're running your business. So the sun here becomes this center point as you balance these other three gateways. And so what are you balancing? You're balancing Saturn, which is how you create structure for yourself and in your business. That supports the moon, your flow. And just the same way that the moon has phases, our business has phases. The moon has cycles, our business has cycles. So how can you learn to move with the cycles of your business instead of fighting them? Because I find for a lot of us, we get stuck in like, well, as soon as it's not growing, we feel like we're failing. But actually, that's the rhythm of life. So how can we work with that? And then all this is well and great, but if it's not connected to our purpose, it starts to feel really empty. So we look at purpose and our north node. And so we would explore this either when you feel like your business is out of balance, right? Like maybe you're doing too much and not being enough, or you're being too much, you're not doing enough, or you lose touch with your purpose. It's a really beautiful place to look. And then there's one more, which is the transformation path. And this is all about helping you really move through challenges, change, and moving through rebirth, stepping into that next level with power and awareness, and I would say intention and grace. So here the sun becomes the anchor point, because I'm sure you have gone through change in your life. It can be wobbly and it can be tumultuous. And so what can you anchor into when things start to get chaotic in your business and in your life? When you're changing, you anchor back into your sun. So that's what the sun becomes. We look at Mars, which is all about initiative. How are you designed, and what helps you to make the most aligned moves in your business, where you really get to honor yourself? No forcing, but like really, this is just like allowing yourself to move towards the things that you are compelled to move towards. Then we look at everyone's favorite, Black Moon Lilith. I'm probably going to end up doing a masterclass just on this key because it's so epic. If you're not familiar with Black Moon Lilith, the mythology goes, this is ancient Jewish mythology. It is God created Adam and Lilith at the same time from the same stuff. And one day when Adam and Lilith were getting it on, Adam wanted Lilith to be underneath him. And she stood up and she said, "I'm your equal. Why would I be underneath you?" And so, of course, Adam did not like that. And so he told on her, and God banished her out of the garden, and then they vilified her, right? But so the point of this, right, and what she teaches us is it's a few things. So one, she wasn't rebellious to be rebellious. She just knew so strongly inside of herself what was right and what was wrong for her. She took a stand for her values and her beliefs unshakably. Right. And she gave herself, I don't know if she gave herself permission, but she is an example of someone who doesn't question that and gives themselves permission. So this is the gateway of permission. It's to help you. You can leverage this to unleash the truth of who you are and to give yourself permission to really step into your highest embodiment. Pretty cool, right? I love the whole story about her. And then finally, the final piece here is Pluto, which is about rebirth. You can't rebirth without death. So how do you move through that with the most amount of grace? And then also, I love this approach phrase because it's really pointing toward, it's like, what do you need to shed your attachment to? In other words, what are you holding on to too tightly? It doesn't mean get rid of it, but loosen your grip on, so that there's the space for your next level to come in. Right? Sometimes we get attached to things and it doesn't let us grow. So there's a lot of insights here. And so you would explore this when you're ready to break your own barriers and step into your next level. A lot of people come to me for readings in this one when they're like, I feel that next level, it is so close, but I can't seem to get there. So what gives, right? And so that's the path to explore. So I wanted to share I've got a free Facebook group for the Success Codex, and we did a raffle the other day. I love raffles. I love giving gifts. It's so weird. I don't like to receive them. I love giving them. So it's super fun. So we did this raffle, and as part of it, I invited people to share, to enter. They would share something that they loved about the Success Codex. I'm not going to read all of these, but I just wanted to share some words from people who are actually using it. Right? I love how practical and useful it is. It's an interesting blend of human design and astrology. I love the Success Codex because it brings you into alignment with your core success planets and accurately pinpoints what frequency is optimal for your success and it's done in a simple and easy to understand way. Um, Simplicity and ease of use distills down complex systems like human design. I love this one. I love looking at my chart and seeing what has always been, but with a new lens that results in an expansion of awareness. And so there are more here, but I just wanted to share a few of those.